Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of my E46 drift build. On today's episode, I'm going to be installing an eBay angle lock kit so I can turn this angle into something that looks like this. So I've got the box here. These are just like cheap things off eBay from China. E46, never fitted them before. Apparently they give an extra 15 to 20 degrees of angle. So yeah, pretty, like, they're aluminium, not heavy, but they look pretty, you know, sturdy. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how they all go together. Pretty sure everyone's seen these before, but they come with some studs and some nuts to fit it up. So yeah, gonna get cracking on that, guys. Jack the car up, chuck it on some stands, and see if I can break something. This isn't a how-to video because I don't know how to do this, but I'm just gonna get cracking into it and see how we go. Take the wheels off. Righty, so I got the wheels off, and now basically got to figure out how the fuck to fit these things. I think you're meant to undo like your ball joint from your, look, I don't really know, but I'm just gonna fucking work it out. So I'm pretty sure this goes in here like this. So I've got to undo the tie rod, the steering, and then drop this lower control arm one as well. And then I'm pretty sure it goes like that. It's got these cutouts here and here. I'm pretty sure that would go like that. So they've got, there's a left and right, but it doesn't say what left and right is. So I think that one goes like that. Like that. Alright, I'm going to try and get these ball joints split. I don't have a ball joint splitter, so I'm just going to have to try and work with what I do have. And go! So I got the tie rod off. I don't think I need to drop that lower control arm down because this thing sits on top, not underneath, so I don't actually have to drop that one down, which is sick. I just need to just undo that. Pretty sure we have to put a new nut on that because the old nut won't get enough purchase on that thread. And see these new nuts. I got new nuts. I've always wanted bigger nuts. These new nuts, they've got like a chamfer on them when it decides to focus. Okay, it's not focusing, but that has a chamfer on it. Dun, dun, dun. Mint focus. So yeah, that nut goes in on there, so you can get enough purchase. I mean, I don't know about enough purchase because there's fuck all thread sticking out, but this is a $50 eBay special. So next, pretty sure we have to put one of these studs up into here. Except that's quite loose. Not sure how that's meant to work. Okay. You see, that's got a taper there. So that's tapered. That's not tapered. Fuck. The fuck? Oh. Might just have to send it. Put it in and fucking send it. Put it in and send it. Alright, so I looked at a couple of videos on YouTube and yeah, like it looks like when people fit up, oh shit, when people fit these up to the E46, these lock in nice and tight, and you can actually see people hitting the bottom of that to get it to sort of spline up into the thing there. But on the E46s, all the videos that I've watched, people are like holding like that end there with vice grips to try and stop it from spinning. So it just must be the way it is. You know, I mean, fuck, it's Chinese. Not that, I shouldn't say it's Chinese, because it doesn't mean that all things from China are shit, but sometimes when you're buying things off the internet, they don't fit properly. So yeah. So I'm just going to put it in and tighten her up. Alright, so that's in. And actually, I didn't even have to hold that. It locked in quite good for me. So happy with that. And it's flush on the bottom there, which is good. Now I'm going to tighten up that back one. Chuck in the steering arm, which I don't know if I have to shorten it or what. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out when it comes time. Alright. Next problem. So this is tapered, right? But this hole in here is not tapered. So this doesn't go in there. And that means there's barely any thread sticking out. Great. So I'm just having a bit of a sit down because that's pretty annoying. Everything I seem to buy for this car just has a problem with it, and it's starting to really annoy me. So yeah, I just got to figure out what I'm gonna do about this fucking thing. I've messaged the seller on eBay. I can't seem to see anybody else having a problem with this on what do you call it, YouTube. But like everyone's in America. I haven't seen any Australian ones. But I mean, I thought like they would still come all from the same factory, all probably made from the same factory in China somewhere, and you know, what America gets is what we get too, but it seems that they're having more luck fitting up their tie rods into the lock adapters than I am. I can't tell if they're tapered, their holes are tapered, or they're just open and that they're just pushing the ball joint straight up, or the, you know, the taper straight into the adapter, and then tightening it up. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to drill a bigger hole so that that tie rod can go up inside there. But yeah, I don't know, just gonna have to try and figure it out. Alright, so after a bit of research on the old Google machine, I've come up with a plan. So there was like a thread on a forum about how the E46 lock adapters also don't have a taper in this hole where the tie rod goes in, but it just slides straight in and then the nut does up. So there's no actually taper locking it in. Basically, yeah, so this guy, he wanted to put a taper in there, but because the hole was already too big for the E36 tie rod ball joint, he fitted E46 tie rod ball joints onto his steering rack, and then he drilled this out with a special ball joint. It's called a tapered, what the fuck is it? It's a tapered reamer. So basically it's a 7-degree angle, and you basically just ream it out with a drill until you get the small hole the same size as the small hole on the original knuckle. So basically, yeah, that angle on the tie rod ball joint is a 7-degree angle. So you drill this hole out here with the 7-degree reamer until the small hole gets to the exact same size as the small hole, the original small hole on the car. And yeah, so I've ordered one of those off eBay because I tried a few local suppliers and nobody has one. So I've ordered one off eBay, and it says it should be here between now and 5 days time or something. So I have to put this project at a standstill. I'm going to just put it back together so I can still move the car around, and then I'm going to have to yeah, pull it all apart again when I get my reamer and ream out my little fucking stupid lockies that don't work. So yeah, alright, see you in a few days. Alrighty, so it's a couple of weeks later. Yes, I am wearing the same clothes, it just worked out that way. But I do have new socks and jocks on, I promise you. So got my reamer in the mail. Ball joint reamer, spiral flute type. So 7/16 times 25.57. So it's got a 7-degree angle in it. Now I'm going to open it up and give you a look-see. Just before I give you a look at the ball joint reamer, just wanted to let you know that I actually have done a few more jobs on the car since all this sort of saga came down. So I've actually put in the coilovers, and I've done the steering wheel. So if you've seen my other videos, that is what I've done in the last couple of episodes. So yeah, if you're wondering why there was no coilovers in there when at the start of this video, but then now there is coilovers, that's why, because I've done a few more things since getting that reamer in. Alrighty, so here it is. So as you can see, it's got an angle. It's fatter this end than it is this end. So that there, that is a 7-degree taper. So yeah, it came with this handle. So you chuck it in here and you're meant to be able to ream it out like that. But what I've actually done is I've chucked it in a drill, and I've drilled out one of my lock adapters, which I'll show you now. Okay, so here is my lock adapter, and if you look, you can tell that that hole is actually tapered. So it's bigger this end than it is this end. So basically, what I did was I reamed this out through this way, because this is the way that the ball joint goes in. So the lock adapter, this measurement here, the one that you get from the thing, it's 14 mil. Now the tie rod on the steering, that ball joint, that taper there, the smallest part of that taper is, I think, about 14.06. So what I did was, with the lock adapter, I basically reamed it out until it just took off the coloured coating of the aluminium on the smallest side. So as you can see there, I've just taken the paint off, or whatever it is, on the lock adapter on the smallest size, because this hole is 14 mil when it comes from the supplier. So we wanted to keep that still 14 mil, but we wanted to get this bit to, I think it was like 15.95, because the largest size, the larger end of the taper on here is that measurement. So I'm going to show you how this fits up now. Alrighty, so this is the part that goes into here, like so. As you can see now, it actually goes all the way down and then has a lot of thread sticking out. So I'm just going to grab a lock adapter that I haven't modified, and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is one that I haven't modified. Put it in and see the thread does not stick out. Doesn't even go in at all. This is the one that I have modified with the taper. It slides in there nicely. And yeah, it's ready to go on. So before I chuck it all on, I will actually video myself reaming another one out, just so that I can show you guys how it all works. And I will leave the link in the description for this reaming tool if you have the same issue and you want to do the same thing. Or if you don't want to buy the tool, I think it was like $100. If you don't want to buy the tool, or you're worried about doing it yourself, hit me up on Instagram or leave a comment below. I'm happy to ream some out for you if you want to send them to me, and then I'll ream them out and then send them back. Or if you live in Victoria, then yeah, maybe we could meet up and do it for you. So yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty, so I've got the reamer in my Milwaukee drill. All you need is to make sure that your drill is a 1/2 inch chuck. I think that's 12 mil. So you're going to make sure that your drill is 1/2 inch. All right. Then the next thing you need is some cutting compound. I've just got some Trefolex. You want to get the cutting compound on your reamer for some lubrication. Now I've got it set up in the vise. It's facing this way. These are the cutouts that sit onto the rest of the structure, or whatever the fuck you call it, that's under there. So we want to go up this way, because this is the way that the ball joint is going to be coming up. So we want this end to be fat and this end to be skinny, or a larger diameter and a smaller diameter. So make sure it's in the vise. I've got some soft jaws so it doesn't damage the aluminium. It's quite easy to get through because this is aluminium. These are made to actually ream out steel, so they're actually quite strong. So it does it does bite into the aluminium quite easily. So you just got to take it slow and steady, make sure you're nice and centered, and then also making sure that we're cleaning the aluminium out every 10 seconds or so. So we're going to make sure we're centered. I'm going to hold the back of the vise. Not pushing too hard, just letting it do its work. Right, now we're going to come out and we're going to clean all this shit off. And then re-dip. Have another crack. See all the stuff coming off it? Cool, not focusing. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to give you a bit of a inside view. Alright, so the lock adapter's in the vise. As you can see, it's reaming it out. About halfway through. Still got colour on that other side there. And as you can see, it's starting to taper. So I'm just going to keep going until I've nearly taken all of the colour off. So you've really got to make sure that you clean that stuff out because it won't drill otherwise. Touch more. And I reckon that looks good. Alrighty, so here it is. As you can see, nice and tapered. Basically all the way through, just until the paint gets taken off up the small end. So let's try it on the ball joint. Ooh, nice. So as you can see, it's all the way down on the taper. Now I can put my nut on and tighten it down. Alright, so the other thing that I'm going to do is, I'm going to piss this 12mm stud thing off because it's too loose in there, right? It's just too loose. So the original hole where the tie rod came out of, down on the car, the smallest part is 14mm. This hole in here is also 14mm. So I'm going to piss that off, and then I'm going to use a 14mm bolt because it's just way tighter. Like, there's just no movement at all in that. So I'm going to use a 14mm bolt in that so that it tightens it up and it doesn't give it any chance to move around and then basically blow out that hole. Alright, got my right side in. Now I've actually got to shorten this so that I can get this in and get my my steering running true. So now I need to work out how much to cut off this so I can adjust it. So if you're wondering why I said that I have to cut this, it's because basically this will not go into that hole. So the wheel or the rotor is in the same spot as when I removed this out of its original position, and I've actually wound this all the way in and it's bottomed out and it won't go in. So if you didn't know what I meant by shortening it and cutting it to shorten it, that is the reason why. So I've got to work out how much to cut. Basically, because the thread is bottomed out in this, I need to cut the thread on this back so it allows this to screw onto here more, which will then allow that to go into there. Alright, so I've worked out that I need to cut off 20 mil of this thread here. I've also got to cut off about 10 mil from here, because if I don't cut this off, this actually stops on the thread and doesn't allow the thread to actually keep threading in. So once we cut that off, it will allow it to thread in more. Alright, so I got my tie rod there cut. I did it on the car. It was a little bit sketchy, but fuck it, YOLO. A tip, keep the nut on there. That way, once you've cut the thread, you can back it off. And then what it'll do is it'll clean up the thread on the end of the thing there. And then you know that you can get your nut on and off, or the other way around. Off and on. Alright, so I actually changed the measurement that I cut off here from 10 mil to 15 mil. So it was an extra 5 mil. And the same down here. Instead of this being cut at 20 mil, I cut it at 25 mil. Now I've got these cut, I can screw this back on. And then pop it into that hole. Alrighty, so got my ball joint from the tie rod all bolted up into the lock adapter. I used a washer up there, 12 mil washer, just to help it sort of spread the load a little bit. And I've got this adjusted back to where the standard sort of angle was. And now I'm going to lock up this nut and then test the angle. I also just want to add that I didn't put this locking ring back on. So that locking ring went there, but there's no room for that now. So I've actually done away with it and I'm just using the nut. So you can see here we have a little bit more adjustment. So when I get the wheel alignment done, we can still adjust it toe in, toe out. So yeah. And also, just to repeat myself, I cut off 15 mil from this part and I cut off 25 mil from this part. So just to show you, these are the two pieces that I cut off. This is the 15 mil one and this is the 25 mil one. Alrighty, so now that's all back together. Let's test out the angle and see what it looks like. Jeez, look at that. Let's go to the other side where it's still standard. This is the standard side. And this is the side with the lock adapter. It's quite a big difference. Alright, now this side's done. I'm going to do the other side, put the wheels back on and see how she looks. Right, I got the wheels back on and this is the angle. This is that side. And then this side. I'm actually going to have to get some spacers to space the wheel out because when it's turned full lock, the front of the wheel is actually hitting, or the front inside of the wheel is actually hitting on the sway bar. I'll show you. So it's full lock. As you can see, hitting on that sway bar. So yeah, gonna have to figure that out. I'm gonna have to figure out what spacers I need another day because I don't have long enough wheel studs or any bolts that I can space the wheel off the hub with to try and work that out. So I'm gonna have to do that another day. I'm going to chuck it on the ground now and then get the suspension to settle and then turn the wheel full lock and see what we've got. Alrighty, so got the suspension to settle. There she is. Fair bit more angle. Alrighty folks, I'm going to end this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I also hope that you learnt something from it, because as per usual, fitting up eBay parts, I also learned something. So yeah, if you think this video might help somebody else, please share it around. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you are not currently subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take it easy. Peace. Fucking stupid lockies that don't work.